my name is Leslie Foster, for those of you who don't know, and I'm here to help you to knit, or to teach you to knit. Let's start from the very beginning. So we're going to start from the very beginning because we're going to have a look at the yarn and the needle sizes that you need to go with the yarn. Where do you find that information, I hear you ask? You find it on the ball band. Now, when you look on your ball band, which is this piece of paper that goes around your ball, all that information is on there. It will tell you what size needles will work best with this type of wool and this weight of wool. This is an Aran weight, so I'm going to be using slightly bigger needles than normal. It also helps when you're watching so that you can see the definition of the stitches a bit better. If I use too thin a yarn and thin needles, you'd be thinking, oh, I can't see that. So I've helped me out too, by using the bigger wool and the bigger needles. That aside, what else can we find on the ball band? We can find the type of wool, and this one says it's a pure new wool. With that information, it also gives you the washing instructions. Hand wash this one, but it also tells you the colour and the lot number. So you've got your die number and your lot number, because if you're doing a project with more than one ball, you don't want a hard line through the middle of your project that is a slightly different colour from the other side. So don't worry about that now. So it's just a little bit of information from your ball band. Now, the ball band tells me that I need size 4.5mm needles. You'll find this information on the top of your needles. You can see that there. 4.5mm, you get all this information, you never have to guess. So I'm going to flip the camera over now, and then I shall show you how that you can cast on. Here we go. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Let's take the ball band off. It just slips off here. And find the end. There we go. That was easy enough. Get enough yarn off. Right, so we hold the two needles together and we need to tie a knot. Now, this is the way I was taught. I know there are other methods out there. Most common of all would be what's called the thumb method, but this is the way that I was taught. So we tie on a knot over the two needles, like that. There we go. Now leave a long enough tie to sew in at the end, because when we've finished our work, it's always good to have enough to sew in at the end. Now, with the two needles still in the loop, just open them out, and you need to be able to hold them in your one hand, usually the right hand. But if you're left-handed, unfortunately, you've still got to use both hands to do something strange that you haven't used them before. So it's just as good to learn how to manipulate your hand doing these new things. So holding the needles in the one hand, and you've got the yarn in the other hand, use your ring finger to just loop it round to hold a bit of tension, and your index finger is going to be doing all the manipulating. But what's going to happen is now, so we've got the bottom needle is through the same loop as the top, and they just form an X. So you're going to take the yarn underneath the bottom needle, around it, and between both needles. So now you've got a piece of yarn that is in that loop, and you're going to bring the bottom needle up and through towards you, and it brings up the new loop. You just twist it so that the other needle can get it, and then you slip it off. Now you have two loops, or two stitches. So this time, instead of being between the loop, we're going to go through the middle. So I'll just flip that over so you can see we're through the middle of those two loops. So rehold the needle, remember, we're looping it round the needle, the ring finger, and manipulating with the index finger. So it's underneath, round, and between. Then you push the bottom needle up and through, and put the loop onto your main needle. Now you have 3 stitches. So again, between the stitch you've just made and the one before, bringing your yarn underneath, round and between. Help the needle to come up, through, and bring the yarn towards you. This is now your new loop. Twist it round and it goes on to the base needle. And you can see how we're getting more and more stitches each time. So I'm just going to do this now, and you can watch it as it goes through. So it's between both stitches, around, up and between, pull the yarn up towards you, twisting it round, putting it back on the needle. And then we're going to keep going until we've got about, I would say about 20 stitches. So let's give myself a bit more yarn. There we go, and roll a little bit. Now we've got enough to work with. So going between those loops, picking up the yarn because I had to drop it to get fresh off. So use your ring finger, bit of tension, manipulate with the index finger so it goes under and round, between, help it through, push up towards you, twist and on to the needle below. So between, up and around and through, up and onto the needle below. Again, between, up and around and through, up towards you, twist it round and on the needle below. So I'm going to keep going till we get to 20. Let's see what we've got. All right, so we've got 9. So I'm going to keep going. Here we are. You will get faster the more you practice. And to say the little mantra as you go will help you to keep an eye on what you're doing. So it's around and through, between and off. There we go. You choose your own words so that you know what you're doing. Now these videos will be here for you to refer to again and again. So it's easy enough for you to follow. Now the reason I'm doing this video where all you can see is my hands and the needles is because this is the position your hands are going to be in from your perspective. And so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. So we'll just slow that down again for you. So the last stitch that was made and the stitch before, put the needle between so that you're going in that gap. Take the yarn round the bottom needle, through and between, bring the yarn up with the new loop and put it onto the needle before. There we go. So I'm just going to see how many we've got. Okay, so now we have our 20 stitches all cast on. What we're going to do now is move these 20 stitches onto the other needle and get knitting. So the first thing that is slightly different, instead of going through 2 stitches, we're now going to push the needle through the loop. Okay, and then taking your yarn around the needle between. This time you're going to push up and we're going to take the old loop off. There we go, off, and now we have 1 stitch on this needle. We'll do that again. Needle goes through the loop, wool comes around, between, up and through, and this time take the old loop off, and now we have 2 stitches on the new needle. And we just continue like this until we have all 20 stitches that you cast on onto the other needle. We'll do that again, go through the loop, wool comes around, through and between, new loop comes up, and this time we don't put it back onto this needle,
we take it off and we keep all these new loops on the other needle. We'll do that again, through the loop, around and through, help it on its way with your fingers, it's fine, and then off. And we continue like that all the way. So through the loop, around and through, push that needle up and take the old loop off. There we go. Now continue all the way to the end. And when we get all 20 stitches onto what used to be our empty needle, we're going to swap hands and do it all over again. There we go, nearly there. 4 more. That's it. Just keep going through the loop, pull it up and off. And that's the last one. Now what we're going to do is swap hands. So we pop the full needle now back into your left hand in my case. There we are. And we're going to start again. So we're going to put all these stitches onto the now empty needle. So get your tension reset, remember, round the finger. Use your index finger to manipulate the yarn. So we go through the loop, up, over and off. There we go, around the needle it goes. Needle comes up and through, old loop comes off. There we are. So I shall leave you to practice doing that for a little while, and then you can catch up later on in the video. You can either watch it all the way through now, or you can stop it and see if you can get some good rows going. So keep practicing and practicing.
Okay, so I've done a few more rows. This style of knitting is just plain knitting. That's all it's called, plain knitting. You can hear it referred to as plain when people say plain and purl. I haven't taught you purl yet because that'll be next time. And you can do lots of things with just a plain knit stitch. So I'm going to put it around my ring finger again. Manipulate it with the index finger and remind you of how we're knitting. So through the loop, around and underneath the needle, between, needle towards you, bring the new loop up and the old loop comes off. There we go. So happy knitting, keep practicing. I will be available to answer any questions, as I said before. Don't worry about it. And the only way you get better is to practice, practice, practice. There you are. So you should have enough information there to get you started on what should be an amazing journey into what I consider fantastic arts of needlecraft. And you're just at the beginning. Think how exciting it's going to be. So it only remains for me to request of you to like, share and subscribe this video, and I'll catch you again on the next one. Take care. Bye.